It was one of those nights when everything felt different. The familiar shadows in my room looked stranger, the darkness was deeper, and the silence thicker. I live alone in a small apartment on the 4th floor of an old building, where creaky floorboards and quiet, unexplained noises are part of everyday life. But that night was different. Around 2 in the morning, I woke up with the feeling that something was wrong. I can't explain it, but it was that nagging feeling that someone was watching me. I tried to push the thought away, but something made me stay still, listening carefully. The room was dark, but in the shadows, I saw something, a silhouette. Standing by my wardrobe, my heart pounded in my chest, but I couldn't move. I stared at it, praying it was just a play of shadows. My eyes adjusted to the darkness, and then I saw it, the outline of a person, a tall figure, standing absolutely still. I tried to convince myself it was just my shirt hanging there, but my instincts screamed otherwise. Without looking away, I reached out toward the nightstand where my phone was. My fingers finally touched it, and with a trembling hand, I turned on the flashlight. The light illuminated the empty space by my wardrobe. There was no one. I felt a wave of relief, but it lasted only a second, because at that moment, a knocking sound echoed from the wall. Behind my bed. 1, 2, 3 knocks. Quiet, deliberate. My breathing quickened. The building was old, but I'd never heard anything like it. Who would be knocking on a wall at 2 in the morning? For the next few minutes, I just sat in bed, listening to the darkness. Nothing. Absolute silence. Finally, I allowed myself to relax, deciding it was all just a product of my imagination. I turned off the flashlight and tried to fall back asleep. The next morning, when I got up, I looked at the wardrobe. The sleeve of my shirt hung in a way that could create the illusion of a figure in the dark. I laughed at myself for being scared the night before, convinced that it was just a play of shadows in my subconscious. But then I noticed something. On the wall next to my bed, there were small, dark smudges, like someone had dragged their fingers along it, leaving something black and oily behind. I ran my hand over it. It wasn't dust. It wasn't paint. I had no idea what it was. The strangeness didn't end there. That evening, when I lay down, I heard the knocking again. 1, 2, 3 knocks. This time, they were louder. Froze. Then, silence. I told myself it was just the pipes of the old building. But then my phone, which was on the nightstand, started vibrating. It was an unknown number. I didn't have the courage to answer. I just watched it glow in the dark until it finally went out. A minute later, it rang again. I couldn't take it anymore. I picked up the phone with a trembling hand and said hello. At first, there was only silence. Then, a faint, distant sound, like breathing. Deep, raspy breathing. I didn't say anything. I just sat there, listening, until finally, something whispered, "Open the door." I ended the call and threw the phone onto the bed. My eyes turned to the bedroom door. It was closed, but in the gap between it and the floor, I noticed a shadow. Someone was standing on the other side. I've never run faster in my life. I jumped out of bed, grabbed my keys, and left the apartment without looking back. I spent the night at a friend's house, and the next morning, I called a locksmith to change the locks. I didn't go back inside until it was light out. Nothing was moved. There were no signs of a Bretkin. But when I checked my phone, I found a recording of the last call. Exactly 33 seconds. No speech, no sound, except for that breathing. Since then, I leave the light on every night. But sometimes, at 2 in the morning, I still hear the 3 knocks on the wall.